Ross, what the hell's going on? It's out of control down there.
It was. I've never seen anything like it. In covering college athletic, covering football, like football in general, high school, pro, whatever. I've never seen anything like it. I've seen a reverse call, obviously, when the officials throw the flag and they huddle and then they announce there's no flag. Actually, we conferred. Not throw the flag, negate a play, announce the penalty, mark the ball for Georgia for first down. And then there's a pause in the action, and the official who called the penalty is on the Texas sideline talking to a seething Steve Sarkisian. And then you can see that official run to the head referee while the bottles are coming down the field, and they confer during the pause and then reverse the penalty. Never seen anything like it. We were in the press box like, wait, what? What is going on? It was wild. It was wild. And you can imagine Kirby Smart was pretty ticked off. We asked him about it after the game in the news conference, and he went through some of the things that you've mentioned, right? The precedent that something like that would set. Hey, throw some things on the field, delay the game a little bit, give the officials time to think about it, and then maybe it goes your way. I will say one thing you couldn't see from TV that we saw in the stadium, they kept playing the play on Jumbotron over and over, and so everybody in the stadium was seeing it, and Sark was pointing up at it and was right next to the official pointing up at it, and so that was happening over and over again. And if you watch the play, clearly it wasn't a good call. They were both jostling with each other, and it probably was a good no call at all. Like neither, I don't know if there needs to be a flag at all on that. There was contact by both, it seemed like. And it was wild. And there were some very angry, as you imagine, Georgia folks. The school president and the athletic director were on the field after the game. They didn't really comment. The AD did send out a tweet later, Josh Brooks, and about his thoughts. The school president and Greg Sankey talked on the field after the game. I saw them discussing it. So it is certainly seemed like an unprecedented situation, and really the SEC's statement didn't give us a whole lot. Right. It didn't mention, it said, hey, they cuddled and conferred, which is permissible. And the official acknowledged that he erred. But really what it didn't mention is that, well, the only reason they had time to discuss this is that there was a pause in the action to clean up the mess. And if they didn't have that pause, almost certainly the ball is snapped, because they didn't confer until the stuff well into the 2 or 3 minutes into the stuff was thrown on the field. So this is a real issue. It is not over from the Georgia administration perspective. I think they want to see this addressed in some other ways. And I wonder, Dan, if it will be addressed with the officiating crew. Will they suspend in some way the officiating crew? That has happened before. They don't publicly suspend officials, but they do suspend them.
I mean, they got the call right.
They did. Yeah. They did. But the way this happened, you just, like plain and simple, like you can't have that. You can't do that. You can't.
Well,
that
fine
can't
Texas
exist,
$250,000 for all those. I'd say you better try coming up to Michigan and get 10 cents because you're going to be broke. I don't know. I'm unmoved by the outrage. I get it. It was kind of what Pat. What I don't.
Yeah. Oh boy, there's a lot here. The Texas fan reaction was atrocious, and at the very least deserved the fine, if not a penalty at the time. And I will say I was very critical of Tennessee's fans when they threw stuff at Ole Miss. This was a little different. They like Lane Kiffin was hit by a golf ball, and they had to evacuate the cheerleaders and band and stuff that was getting hit by debris with the Tennessee thing.
Remember the
mustard bottle? Yeah. But this is bad. I mean, there's no excuse for that. No excuse for fans to do that. And yes, if they've in any way incentivized fans to find a way to delay a game to put pressure on officials to change a call, That's very bad. That's very bad. So officials need to, but with the full backing of their conference office, not look at this and say, you know what? Yeah, if we're handed a bunch of time, we need to reverse a call. That said, you're right, Dan. That's the justice, quote unquote, was served by Texas having the ball where they had it. But yeah, this thing where, as you said, Ross, I mean, they spotted the ball like possession had changed hands. They spotted the ball. Georgia was ready to go, except for the fact that there's a damn riot going on. And so they had to take care of the riot and then get around to changing the call. So it's a bad situation for sure.
So, all right. So what? Okay, let's take it. Let me go through this.
Let me just say something else real quick here. I would like to see Georgia's administrative energy on this be equaled by its response to their players constantly getting arrested. Okay.
That's a fair point there, yeah. Fair point. Okay, so throwing the stuff is ridiculous. Because people throw a bottle and it gets on the field. Like half of them don't make it. There's like people in the third row getting beamed in the head by beer bottles.
They had some pretty good arms, Dan. There's
some
a lot
of them
things on that field.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of like the rest of the Mannings are up there. Maybe they should get them out in the field because yours was only 25 of 43, but the kid from the Alpha House. All right, so don't throw bottles. You should get arrested for throwing a bottle indiscriminately down on a field. I would have absolutely no problem with that.
Yeah. I
get it. You're here to have fun. I'm not like arrest everyone who storms the field and stuff like that. But if you're taking a beer bottle and in a metal, they're metal obviously now, and you huck the thing, you have no idea who it's hitting.
Right.
So it's much like racing your car through the streets in the middle of the night. Or, I mean, you could be totally arrested for it. So they could have gone in there and just wiped out the whole section there. So I'm not taking it lightly. I just don't know so because they rioted and then you realize this potentially very key play in the game, you blew it. Do you want them to not correct it because of the reason for the delay?
No.
Like, is there an argument here without being like Texas didn't do nothing? I'm not saying that. That's what I'm asking. Like, I kind of at the end, I was like, well, this game, the best thing to happen to Georgia is they reverse this or Texas be whining forever that they were going to win the game.
Oh, my God. Yes.
Right. Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. It's kind of like last year with the Michigan sign stealing. Like, if it doesn't happen, if it doesn't get caught in the middle of the season, then the championship, right, is looked at differently. So I think the big issue here is when you announce the penalty and you mark it off and you're ready for play, you can't go back, and you can't use the Jumbotron in the stadium to do it. You can't just have that. Like, that's a precedent that doesn't need to be set. No matter that things are thrown on the field like that, you can't have that. I mean, we have review that has a structure and regulation and all that stuff. Like, you just can't, let me look at this Jumbotron. Hold on, let's announce the penalty, mark it off, but let me look at this Jumbotron.
Where the refs looking. Where the refs
the
looking.
way it should go. Yeah, the
I don't
looking.
know.
Yeah. So I think it would be different had they not announced it, right? They conferred before they announced it, which happens all the time. We see that a lot. But that's not what happened. And then it was also just like quadrupled in kind of drama with the things thrown on the field it was about a 4.5 to 5 minute delay. And then when you see the video that I believe was shared with the league office of the official who threw the flag, talking to a angry Steve Sarkisian, and then literally leaving his side and running to confer with the other officials. Not a great look, but I do understand the point, Dan. They very likely got the call right, right, and yeah, it's a good point about this. loss would have been looked at maybe differently if they didn't get the call right. And Texas folks would have been saying, "See, we could have made it a 1-score game," which they did. Of course, they ended up doing that. But if they hadn't gotten that opportunity and reversed the call, you could see this lingering. Also, if Texas somehow came back in the game, holy cow! Like this would be talked about for weeks in Athens, and it would in everywhere. Maybe it would kind of be the other way around.
That's a good point.
Right?
Yeah.
Playoff committee would have made it a factor, right? Bad calls by
riot control.
Yeah, riot control.
Right. Yeah. The other thing I will say that you mentioned, Ross, that they kept showing the play over and over, and I have seen this more in basketball than in football, where the home team gets a bad call and they will keep showing it to keep people booing to put the pressure on the refs, which I don't like. I think that is like mob mentality of let's just gang up on the refs and try to get the rest of the calls our way. So I don't know whether that can be addressed, at any point by the conferences of like, you know what, show the replay one time or whatever and then move on.